Welcome to the 2017-2018 Emory Club Sports Coaches Meeting. The Club Sports professional staff members are Ricky Tallman, Assistant Director of Intramural and Club Sports, and Matt Jarman, Coordinator of Intramural and Club Sports. Below you will see the Club Sports reporting structure. All clubs on the left will report to Ricky Tallman, with clubs on the right reporting to Matt Jarman. So what does it take to be a club sports at Emory? The universal requirements for all club sports include a student organization that is competitive in nature. The organization must be a member of a regional or national governing body or association in the sport. The organization's primary mission is to take part in an activity that involves both physical and mental components in the pursuit of athletic competition. The organization must compete against other universities across the region and nation. And currently, the Club Sports Council consists of 25 active student organizations. In order to be a participant in the Emory Club Sports program, an individual must be an undergrad or grad student at Emory or Oxford or university faculty or staff member. Club Sports welcomes and promotes an open and genuinely diverse environment. Club Sports cannot and will not tolerate discrimination against or harassment of any individual or group based upon race, color, religion, ethnic or national origin, gender, genetic information, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, veteran status, or any factor that is prohibited consideration under applicable law. Below is a breakdown of the differences and similarities between varsity athletics, clubs, and intramural sports. Let's start with varsity athletics. Varsity teams are NCAA sponsored and represent the university in competitions against other schools. These teams compete only within their NCAA division, and there is an emphasis on winning. There's a large time commitment with practices most days of the week, and these teams are 100% university funded. There's a top-down approach with the coach at the top down to the players. Within club sports, clubs are first and foremost student-run organizations. These clubs represent their university against other universities and compete across NCAA divisions. There is more of an emphasis on student development over winning, and practice requirements vary. The university does provide funding for club sports, but clubs also have to heavily rely on self-generated funds through dues and fundraising. Intramural sports are strictly on-campus competitions, where students compete against other students at the same university. There's again an emphasis on student development, and teams and games can be recreation and competitive based. The club sports basic roles and responsibilities are outlined below. Let's start with our club sport coaches. Safety is the main concern of the club sports office, and it is the responsibility of the coach to ensure that athletes are playing in a safe environment at all times. As a coach, keep in mind that you are also a teacher. Use your experience to share your knowledge of the sport with your athletes. No matter your style of coaching, creating a positive environment that values learning and teamwork should always come before a win-at-all-cost mentality. Many of your players will come to you with varying levels of experience and ability. Be creative in finding ways to provide opportunities for individual and team successes throughout your seasons so your athletes can get the most out of their experience. All of our teams are under a regional or national governing body. Make sure to stay up on policies within your league and organization to ensure that we are compliant. Your club leadership may also ask for guidance along the way, and that's totally fine. It's important to allow your athletes to make decisions, but many times the coach can provide a perspective the students hadn't thought of. You can be a resource and an advisor without being 100% in control. With this in mind, club sports are first and foremost student-run organizations. This means that club leaders are responsible for all administrative duties for the club. Duties include scheduling facilities and officials, club finance, travel arrangements, and the primary communicators between your team and the club sports office. This doesn't mean that our doors are closed to you, Professional staff are always available to coaches, and we want to hear from you if there are player concerns, especially injuries and safety, or other serious matters, but all administrative matters should come through your student leaders. The Club Sports Office will communicate to teams expectations and program requirements. Clubs will be required to meet deadlines throughout the year and will be held accountable if deadlines are missed. Establishing a culture of accountability within your club can go a long way to ensuring your club is successful. Most of our requirements surround risk management, and we aim to put our teams in position to be as safe as possible. We partner with Emory Healthcare to provide a comprehensive athletic training program that is available to our athletes, which we will discuss more later in the presentation. Club Sports officers also have monthly meetings with Club Sports professional staff to present updates and concerns. Please keep this in mind throughout the year in case there is something you want to pass along to our professional staff members. Next up are coaching expectations. Emory Club Sports expects that our clubs display good sportsmanship when competing on or off campus. This includes respect for opponents and officials. The coach should set an example of good sportsmanship for the team to follow and hold players accountable as well. Understand that our teams represent the university. Many times, your opponent's only experience with Emory is through competition with your club. As coach, you should ensure that we are representing Emory in the best way possible at all times. Emory University truly values a diverse community. Club Sports supports the university's values and expects our coaches and participants to show respect for one another. Discrimination based on gender, race, religion, ability, or sexual orientation will not be tolerated. Provide your athletes with the ability to experience successes as well as mistakes. Learning through doing can be the best teacher. Be intentional with your delivery of information and communicate clearly when a job well done and ways to keep improving. Always keep in mind that athletes should be provided the safest environment possible. Players should not be encouraged to play through injuries or return to play too soon. Keep in mind all travel policies that will be discussed in an upcoming slide, as team travel can present many challenging risks. This should go without saying, but coaches should attend all practices and games. And while at practice, keep your focus on your players. Coaches who are not available and do not invest in their players will not have a long tenure with their team. We want to empower our students to make decisions, but there will be times when the coach needs to be the voice of reason. If something feels off or your players are going down the wrong path, it's the coach's responsibility to be the moral compass of the team. And finally, as a coach, teacher, and leader of your team, you should set expectations with yourself and players that prohibit hazing, illegal gambling, alcohol, drugs, and harassment. The university and Club Sports adheres to a zero-tolerance policy for all of the above. Club Sports professional staff expect coaches to report any violations, especially those detrimental to the well-being of your players. Here are some tips that will hopefully put you in a good position heading into the year. First, establishing expectations early and empowering your student leaders. One of the major differences you see in club sports versus coaching a high school or varsity team is that your students determine the team's direction and goals. It's important to empower your students to make these decisions, but it's just as important as coach to establish expectations. It'll make your job a lot easier to know up front what goals the team has. Does your team value winning, or do they value everyone getting equal playing time? Make sure to discuss these things with your team right from the start. After you establish expectations with your team, it is critical that you hold your players accountable. Some of our clubs have players sign contracts that spells out specific expectations. Others simply communicate accountability throughout the year. No matter your plan of action, stressing accountability to your team is critical to any team's success. Examples of where accountability matter could include practice attendance, punctuality, being a good teammate, being a positive representative of your team, and the university. Players follow coaches they trust. If you're putting in the effort and being honest with your team, that is going to go a long way in getting your players to follow you. We have a phenomenal group of coaches that have been with the program for years that show they care, and I hear about all the great things you do all the time. For those just joining us, I challenge you to do the same and give your athletes the best of you each day you're with them. No matter how competitive your team chooses to be, it's important to make participating with your club an enjoyable experience for your athletes. Be creative at practices and keep things loose so your players want to keep coming back. Those of you new to the program, it's extremely important to understand just who the Emory student is. In most cases, your players and even officers are going to have multiple other extracurricular activities that they're involved in. Add in a part-time job, maybe an internship on the side, schoolwork, and of course a social life, and you have a way over-programmed college student. Keep this in mind early on in the year and talk to your players about time management. Make sure new players understand the time commitment and expectations for being involved with your club. This will create more buy-in from players and set your club as a priority amongst the various other things they're involved in. As a club sports coach, it's important to understand your status with the university. As you will see, we've broken it down into two categories: paid and unpaid coaches. If you're not paid by your club, you would be considered a volunteer, not employed by the university. If you are paid, you would be considered an independent contractor and also not employed by the university. Paid coaches must be paid from the club's self-generated account. University allocated funds cannot be used to pay a club sport coach. No matter your status, all of our coaches must complete departmental coaching contracts and waivers at the start of each academic year. And as a coach, you also cannot sign on behalf of the university. At the bottom, you will see club-related injuries. If you do get hurt at practice or at a game or any involvement with your club, you'll not be covered by Emory University, and you must carry personal insurance. There are a few benefits you are eligible for as an Emory Club Sport coach. One of the perks we offer our coaches is a free annual membership to the Woodruff PE Center, what we call on campus the Woodpeg. The only cost to you is $10 to pick up an Emory ID card from the Emory Card office on main campus. The physical address and building hours for the Emory Card office are listed. All coaches will need access if your team practices at the Woodpeg. Contact Ricky Tallman for more information on how to obtain or renew your membership. Additionally, all coaches who drive rental or university vehicles for club sports travel are required to be defensive driver certified through the university. The entire defensive driver process has moved online. This means that all coaches who are not affiliated with the university will be sent a sponsored Emory account that will allow you to log in to the Emory OrgSync website. The process includes a background check of your motor vehicle record and completion of an online defensive driving course. Keep in mind the process takes at least 2 to 3 weeks to complete, and you will need to be done prior to any travel. There's a $20 administrative fee, but the cost can be covered by your team by entering the club's smart key for payment. You may ask why this is a benefit. Well, by completing the course, you can send your certificate of completion to your auto insurance provider for a discount. The club sports athletic trainer is Jamila Kendall, and the Emory Sports Medicine Outreach Coordinator that organizes all athletic trainers for home competitions is Kim Nguyen. Both can be contacted at Emory Club Sport ATC at emoryhealthcare.org. Emory Healthcare also provides our club sports athletes with a weekly injury clinic and assessment. The location of the clinic will be at the Woodpeck Classroom 308, and the day and time are Wednesdays 5:30 to 7:30 starting August 30th. Additionally, Emory Healthcare has provided Emory Club Sports with injury prevention, emails, flyers, and handouts that will be sent out throughout the year. With more and more research being done surrounding head injuries and concussions and the long-term impacts that they can have on athletes, Emory Club Sports is requiring that all clubs, except for crew, tennis, cycle and tri, fencing, golf, and weightlifting, get baseline impact testing done at the beginning of the academic year. However, these tests will be available to all clubs and club sports participants if they are interested. Participants will be able to take the tests online at their convenience, and more information will be sent out in the coming weeks. We will also be sending out a concussion management plan attachment to all athletes and coaches to reference throughout the year. I highly encourage our coaches to download the Heads Up app, which was developed by the CDC. When searching at the App Store, you would need to type in Heads Up CDC to find it. The Heads Up app includes additional information and educational materials surrounding concussions and head injuries that will be truly valuable for you to reference during the year. If any athlete needs to be referred to a physician, please do so as below. For concussions, athletes will be referred to Student Health Services or the Emory Hospital at Clifton Road. Any other injury that would need a physician's referral, participants, athletes, will go to Emory Orthopedics. If any of your athletes are referred to a physician, please make sure they contact Ricky Tallman at ricky.tallman@emory.edu. Emory Club Sports Lightning Policy adheres to NCAA and NOAA recommendations. For club sports participating at Kaminsky Park, please reference the ThoroughGuard Lightning Detection System. ThoroughGuard will sound 3 horns when lightning is in the area, which means all participants need to clear the field. Once lightning vacates the area, there will be 1 long horn which signals all clear and play can resume. First aid kits and supplies are available to all of our clubs. If your club is running low or needs additional supplies, please contact Ricky Tallman. CPR certifications are also offered through Recreation and Wellness and Emory Club Sports. Our coaches are highly encouraged to get CPR certified. If you are already certified, please contact Ricky Tallman so he knows. Travel can be the highest risk for catastrophic injury that a club team will experience. It's important as coach to follow the safety guidelines below and make sure your teams are doing the same. The Travel Safety Tips link takes you to Emory Campus Life's Rules of the Road and Best Practices for all travel. Please make sure to review this page before you travel with your team. Some highlights from the site include always wearing seatbelts, never traveling within the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., switching drivers after 2 hours, and knowing weather conditions ahead of time. Keep in mind that only players on your approved travel roster and coaches are allowed in vehicles. Also, alcohol and illegal substances are not permitted during club travel, regardless of age, role, or status among the team. Finally, it is best practice to have emergency contact information for all your athletes, including copies of each player's insurance card prior to travel. As a club sports coach, there are situations where you have a duty to report certain and sometimes delicate information. Examples of when you have a duty to report include if you suspect a player is a threat to injure themselves or others, or if you suspect a player has been a victim of a sexual assault. In either of these cases, Emory has professionals on staff to assist you. The Emory Helpline and Student Intervention Services are resources that you should contact if any of your players experience these situations. The Emory Respect Program, Student Intervention Services, and the Title IX office provide various online resources to assist you in responding to a student's disclosure in distress. Please review these guidelines, which will assist you with handling difficult conversations that may arise with you and your athletes. As coach, your athletes may feel most comfortable speaking with you about sensitive issues, maybe more so than a teammate, professor, or RA, so it's best to be prepared to help your athletes the best way you can. There are also situations that coaches should report to the appropriate personnel. If a coach witnesses a crime taking place on campus, please contact Emory Police at 404-727-6111. You should have the phone number for Emory Police stored in your cell phone. If a crime is witnessed off campus, contact local police at 911. In the event of a serious injury or incident, either on or off campus, please make sure to notify Ricky Tallman as quickly as possible at 804-337-9803. Examples of reportable injuries include broken bones, dislocations, and head injuries. Examples of reportable incidents include car accidents, speeding or parking tickets, unsportsmanlike ejections and behavior, by our clubs or opponents, unsafe playing conditions, or unacceptable accommodations from a host university. Finally, please keep in mind that only university staff should contact a student's emergency contact in the event of a serious or catastrophic injury. This would include a situation where the student is unconscious or their life is at risk. Emory Campus Life has trained professionals who can communicate this information to the correct parties. Please contact Ricky Tallman immediately if you face this situation. Additionally, if there comes a situation where a media presence is involved, always refer to Emory professionals to provide content to any media outlets. The following are additional on-campus resources for your reference. The facility scheduling website is where you can access space reservations and see your club's actual practice and game times online. The links below all provide additional information regarding Emory's anti-hazing policy, Emory Counseling Services, also known as CAPS, Emory's Advising Office, and Health Promotions. All clubs will need to submit and keep updated rosters throughout the year. As a student organization, our club teams must register their organization on OrgSync, Emory's online campus engagement network. Rosters are monitored by the Student Involvement Office, and a club's charter and funding can be negatively impacted if information is not maintained. IM Leagues is the website used by the Club Sports Office for roster management and is where all club sports participants will electronically sign a waiver. Clubs that do not maintain their IM Leagues or OrgSync rosters will have their allocated accounts frozen and lose facility privileges. Many of our teams use websites and social media accounts through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's important to remind your teams that only appropriate content should be included on their website and social media posts. These platforms represent not only your teams, but also club sports as a whole and the entire university. A good question to ask your players when posting material is, would they be comfortable with that information on the front page of the New York Times? The mission of club sports is predicated on intercollegiate competition. We expect that the majority of your competitions are between other colleges and universities, but also understand that there are additional opportunities to compete against non-collegiate teams. If your team is interested in hosting a non-collegiate team or group on campus, there are additional requirements that can be found by clicking on the link provided. Below, you will find contact information for Ricky Tallman and Matt Jarman, as well as the email address for the Club Sports athletic trainers and a link to the Emory Club Sports website. This concludes the 2017-2018 Emory Club Sports Coaches Meeting. I hope everyone is looking forward to the start of the year and getting your seasons underway. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and I'll see you all soon.